Alright everyone, it's 17th of December and that means it's time for us to have a sit down and talk about Project for Awesome. Some of you might already know what Project for Awesome is, in which case, good on you. Some of you probably don't, so I'm going to tell you. Project for Awesome is a day where YouTube is effectively invaded by charity videos. It's an initiative that was started 6 years ago by John and Hank Green, the Vlog Brothers. Basically everyone's encouraged to just pick a charity, talk about it, and do it. I don't know why I'm explaining it really. This is my first year on YouTube, but I've decided to just jump straight in the spirit of giving. And this year I'm going to talk about two charities. The first charity I want to talk about is Porchlight, which is a charity that works with the homeless in Kent and Medway. Specifically in towns and cities like Ashford, Canterbury, Dover, Margate, Tunbridge, Ramsgate. I think they've just moved into Croydon as well. What they do initially is that they focus on getting people off the streets, or even off the sofa surfing, and if needs be, no longer dependent on whatever it was they were dependent on, and then they start, applying responsibility, like a job or training for a job. It turns out to be a very effective means of doing so, of getting the homeless into homes and helping them become normal people again, and the reason that I like Porchlight in particular is that the homeless are people. They're just like you and me. People don't get to pick the circumstances that lead to them becoming homeless. And there are a lot of them, and we don't really realise that. A lot of people tend to assume that it's something very negative, but sometimes it can just be a succession of downward spirals, as it were. And I've met some of the people that Porchlight have worked with, and in fact a year ago I participated in a charity sleep out with my school in aid of Porchlight, which I'm going to tell you about actually because it was very illuminating. We all had sleeping bags. We were provided with some cardboard boxes and a tarpaulin, and we went out into what is effectively a very large car park, and we kind of all settled into our nooks and crannies, and then it began to rain, and it rained more and more and more and more. And the people in charge of organising this sleep out eventually concluded that no one could sleep where they had planned to. So we all moved into what are called the cloisters, which is this very long outdoor corridor at my school. And as you can imagine, spaces filled up quite quickly. The group of people I was with, we were the last ones to move. We were resolute that we would be staying out where we were, and as a consequence we didn't have anywhere to go, so we ended up in the worst place of the entire cloisters. We didn't have sleeping bags. We did manage to get sleeping bags. I was on the end, so I didn't have any body heat, and it turned out that the thing about the cloisters, they seemed like the most sheltered place because there was a low wall and buildings and a roof, but actually they funneled the wind and by consequence the rain, and I was on the end of that. I was wearing 4 layers of clothes, some of which weren't my own. I was sleeping in a wet sleeping bag. The lights overhead wouldn't turn off all night. It was freezing, and I was using a 900-page Baroque cyberpunk novel as a pillow. It was a tremendously unpleasant experience. It was one of the most unpleasant experiences I've ever put myself through voluntarily. But I learnt a lot. Like, we had our own sleeping bag. We'd been provided with sleeping bags and warm clothing. We'd been expecting it, and it was still awful. Just the most degrading experience. And while I can't pretend to have an insight into what it's like to be homeless, I can at least understand on a small level what maybe it is like. And it's horrific. So that's why I'm talking about Porchlight. The second charity is cancer research, which is quite a well-known charity, and until recently I was quite desensitised to it and to other large cancer charities. In the last year it's been quite hard for my family, particularly for my mother, because 2 of her friends have unfortunately passed away from cancer, and I don't really know how to talk about it. Cancer as a thing that exists makes me fundamentally angry. And it's quite easy to be flippant about it, and I often am. But really, I've seen the way it affects people and people close to them, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. Inspired by this, my sister, who's 11 but wise beyond her years, has been doing bake sales for charity. She has one coming up after the winter holidays, which is going to be the largest one yet. And she has been doing them for cancer research, which increasingly is something I believe in more and more strongly. Any nerd fighters will obviously be familiar with the story of Esther. But there are so many people, and it's so important, guys. Just, it's a no-brainer. So those are some charities that you should be supporting, I think. There are others. There are so many charities in the world. This was so hard. I'm late making this video just because I was trying to whittle down which charities to talk about, but in the end I've decided that people are the most important thing. It's not animals or the environment, it's people. And those are charities that look out for people. So I'm going to put links to their websites and the Project for Awesome Indiegogo in the description. And I hope in this season of goodwill that you'll give some money to at least one charity. It doesn't have to be these ones, because there are so many worthy charities out there. But please do. Thank you.